if you really want to build a scalable empire, a business, you need systems. You need to be aligned. Your people need to be empowered. And that's really what it's about. It's like, let's capture all that knowledge. Let's get your business out of your brain, put it onto a place where you can show it to other people, because those are the bricks. That's the concrete. Like, that's what makes a business worthwhile. No one's going to buy your business based on what's stuck in your head.
What's the secret sauce behind getting a business to actually run without you? You mentioned these redundancies and such, but how were you able to get the team to the point to where even with that power of attorney signed and sent over, they actually could have taken care of and avoided tragedy while you were out running a marathon in Antarctica?
Well, you need to have the right people in place and the right roles. Process is a huge part of it, but even beyond process, it's like, do you have the right culture where people without explicit directions know how to step up?
Welcome everybody to the Albee After Hours podcast, where we talk about propelling the restoration industry forward. I'm your host, Alex Duda, and today I'm excited to have Mr. Chris Ronzio with us. He's the CEO of Trainual and the author of the business Playbook. Make sure you stay till the end. This is going to be a really good podcast, and we're going to unpack the 4 Ps of the ultimate restoration playbook. What's up, Chris? How are you doing?
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me.
Dude, thanks so much for joining us. You literally poured into, what was it, like 75 restorers' hearts here at the Evolve Restoration Mastermind. Everybody's all thrilled to have you here, and you totally left your finger imprint on the restoration industry.
I hope so. It was fun being up there, and everybody, this community you've built is so special.
Thanks, man. So, Chris, you were where? Patagonia,
yeah.
Right? On your way on this ship to go to Antarctica to run a marathon.
Yeah.
And you got this text message that I remember getting too, and I freaked out when I got that message. It's like, yo, do you bank with SVB?
Yeah. Do you have cash with SVB?
And then what happened from there?
Yeah, so SVB, for anyone that doesn't know, Silicon Valley Bank, and I think it was March 9th or 10th of 2023. I'm about to sail away, like casting away from land. We're going across the Drake Passage to go, which is a 3-day boat voyage to get to Antarctica. And as we're seeing the last bit of land out the window, I get the text from one of my investors. Wow. Do we have our cash at SVB? And this is like tens of millions of dollars that like in a moment was gone.
Could evaporate.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so for me, I'm with my brother, who's our chief marketing officer, and we freak out. We run to our bedroom. We try to get on the hot spot that's still available from Chile. We are texting everybody at the company, and the last thing that I did was kind of signed a power of attorney for my director of finance to make whatever moves they needed.
Wow.
And then we just sailed away for 3 days. And as we got into Antarctica and the base at Antarctica, we realized there's really nothing we can do about this. Like, we're on the other side of the world, and we have to trust our team.
Wow. And what ended up happening?
Well, fortunately, the bank turned out to get a transaction done. The money was safe. Yep. So that was the initial, like, wipe away the sweat. But the thing that was amazing is how the team performed, like how everybody stepped up, how they communicated to the rest of the business and kept them informed, how we had a backup plan and a backup for the backup for payroll. And it really proved that this business is set up that it could run without me, which was a powerful thing.
That's awesome. And what's the secret sauce behind getting a business to actually run without you? Like, you mentioned these redundancies and such, but how were you able to get the team to the point to where even with that power of attorney signed and sent over, they actually could have taken care of and avoided tragedy while you were out running a marathon in Antarctica?
Well, you need to have the right people in place and the right roles, and process is a huge part of it. But even beyond process, it's like, do you have the right culture where people without explicit directions know how to step up, like know what's expected of them? They know, what would Chris do if Chris was here? You know, like, there's a difference between a culture of compliance where you tell everybody what to do and they comply versus a culture of empowerment when they know what you would have told them to do. And that's where we wanted to get to, and that's where we did get to with Trainual.
Interesting. And this week, for those of you guys that don't know, Chris just got off a stage at the Evolve Restoration Mastermind, poured into our audience here, into our tribe of restorers. And you actually got some time last night to, chat over dinner and obviously interact with everybody. Thanks for doing that, by the way. What do you think holds the restoration industry back from maybe putting together these playbooks, from being able to put together these processes, and just in general, I think small businesses, it all kind of applies?
I think it's about time and control. At the beginning, it's time. It's like, why would I write this down? I've got other burning fires. I've got somebody just called. I got a $50,000 job. Like, I'm going to get to that site. That's the more important thing. Why would I be sitting here writing SOPs? Like, I didn't get in business to write SOPs. And so there's this excuse that people have that, there's always something more urgent that I could be working on. And so first, you need to get yourself out of and detached from doing the work that makes the money in the business. You have to be surrounded by other people that can go out to the job sites and can effectively deliver your service and get the job done, who can bill for the job and who can make money without you being there for a day. Like, you need to buy yourself that breathing room. And then there's this catch-22 with time where, investing time in these important areas of the business is what creates you time in the future. And so as soon as you have that breathing room, whether it's a couple hours or a day or 2 days to focus on the business, that's when you need to invest in, okay, well, how do I want this hard piece of the business to work? How do I want this particular process that happens all the time to happen? Like, what is our best practice? And so I think about process and business as like brick by brick, creating a more solid foundation for the company. And without investing your time in those bricks, it's constantly a house of cards that could fall down at any time.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I mean, I also look at it as an entrepreneur, at a certain point, you need to find time that is highly leveraged, right? And when you work in putting together like an SOP, for example, there's a huge, tremendous amount of leverage that you can have because you spend those 2 to 3 hours to put a playbook together, but now that playbook just keeps going on and on and on within your business afterwards. So it might kind of sound sucky to sit there and write a playbook or record a video on how to do something, but the aha moment is that 1 hour of time can now replace the 15 minutes that you have to explain things to people over and over again.
Yeah, think about like IKEA instructions, right? It's like the little stick figures putting together a table. But like, if IKEA had to put that table together for everybody, how many like millions of hours would they spend assembling tables? And instead, they created one illustration or one set of instructions that let 1 million people save 1 million hours of building tables for IKEA. It's like that's an extreme example, but we do that in our business every day. And if there's little things that you're having to explain to people, little questions you're answering, people are doing things a different way, you taking the time to say, well, this is the company way, saves you so much time in the future.
Now, Chris, you're super interested and passionate. I could feel it about SOPs and playbooks and such, but I assume you weren't just born with a playbook or a playbook mind at the very beginning. And I assume your early entrepreneurial career was probably not as structured and not as regimented. Where did this all start? How did your entrepreneurial career start? And then how did you land on realizing that, playbooks and systems, that's what we need to grow and scale a business?
Well, I think as an early entrepreneur, as a kid, like a lot of people, I was the artisan, the one making the lemonade, the one making the bracelets that I sold in school. People do that work, but I remember hiring my little brother to work at the lemonade stand. We lived near a golf course, and I realized I could make twice as much money if I set my brother up at one table on this hole, and I went to a different hole and had 2 tables. Like, how many kids think, why don't I have 2 locations from my lemonade stand?
That is so genius.
And so I had to show my brother, like, well, here's what the 2 different cup sizes cost, and here's what we have pink lemonade and regular lemonade, and here's the cash box, and we got 2 tables and 2 sets of chairs. And so even in those early days, I was starting to think about like, how does this become a system? And I didn't know it was systems and processes, but it was like playing business.
I see.
You know, like, did you ever as a kid have one of those sets that was like the McDonald's set? There was like a Fisher Price McDonald's. Like I put on an apron, I'm serving plastic fries. Did you ever see that?
I've seen them in like libraries and stuff. Yeah.
Okay, I'm older than you, so yeah, you're calling me
yeah.
old. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, this is like an '80s thing.
Yeah.
But I remember having like this McDonald's little station. And so as a kid, I always thought like, how cool would it be to have my own business that was like a kit, you know, something I could set up or that anyone could set up. And so that's how it was with like lemonade stands and with car washes. And I had brochures, I had business cards. And so it started early.
Nice. And then what'd you do? Like early on, I think you mentioned you had a videography company.
Yeah.
Right? You would film the most fun type of entertainment for your high school brain at the time. What was that again?
Yeah, so the 14-year-old dude, why don't I start a cheerleading video company?
Wow.
Like that made sense, right?
Were you the coolest kid in high school?
Debatable, but
Yeah.
I had a lot of friends. But
Yeah.
yeah, so we started filming these cheerleading championships that happened at my school. We had a big field house, and once we did it it became an annual thing and then a seasonal thing that they'd invite us to. And so it was really my first recurring revenue. I realized like you could do video as corporate video or weddings. And you maybe only get that client once or twice or whatever. Whereas if you do sports, these things happen like games multiple times a week and tournaments every month and championships every year. Graduations we got into, but it was like the recurring stuff that was predictable that we could build.
Wow. Awesome. And what'd you end up doing with that company?
So I ran that company for 12 years through high school, college, and beyond college. We had 3 offices in Boston, in LA, and in Columbus, Ohio. We were covering events across the U.S. in all 50 states.
Nice.
And I sold it after 12 years in business.
And that's when you started Trainual?
First, I started a consulting firm called Organized Chaos.
Okay.
Because that's what I had written on the back of my business card. It was like, I will organize your chaos. And it stuck. People were like, my business is a mess. There's so much going on. And I would swarm in and understand their operations and say, okay, walk me through all your people, your roles, responsibilities. Walk me through the work that you do. What do you offer as a company? Walk me through your tech, your systems that you use. And then I would think, how do we make this less chaotic? How do we automate or make things run more streamlined? And so for 5 years, I had this consulting business that was just going in and unpacking and rebuilding operations. And so one of the most consistent things I saw is that nobody had any sort of operations manual or documented training. And when we would rebuild someone's operation, the thing I would do is write the training manual, and then I would do a live training with employees showing like, this is our new system, this is our new software, our new tool to do this. And after doing it over and over again with YouTube videos and PDFs, it was like, why is there no system built for this? And so Trainual was an idea. It was just an in-house tool for my consulting firm so that we'd have some IP. And I started giving it to consulting clients for free and then charging after 6 months when they were using it, they'd keep paying a monthly fee. And that's how it took off.
That's awesome. Yeah, now it's, you said 140 employees, serve thousands of customers all over these states.
Yeah. Nice. So we've got people using it across the world in every country, 196 countries, except for the embargoed ones, I guess.
Interesting. Embargoed from what, American Tech or?
Yeah, not like the ones we were not allowed to serve. But it's over 13 million policies and processes that are built in the system. It's pretty cool.
Awesome. So, kind of coming back full circle here, if we were to co-create a restoration playbook, you mentioned there's 4 Ps or 4 different categories that we have to focus on. And most people think, oh, we're gonna dive in and create a restoration playbook. Let's write all the SOPs and let's just get in and write a detailed list of processes. But you believe that that's not where we should start. What are the 4 Ps?
SOPs are last.
Okay.
And so the first P is the profile of your business.
Okay.
It's like, who is your business? What are you all about? Like, what's your founding story? Why do you exist? What's your mission, your vision, your values? But then, like, what are the key moments in your history that made your business special? What are the menu of services and products that you offer, and how do you charge? How does your business model work from start to finish? Like the profile of who do we serve? Why are we different? Why are we unique? What market are we in? That is like the most basic information that every person in your company needs to know. And it's not a process. It's more of a narrative, a story. And so you start there. Next, you get into your people. And so when you're documenting the people side of your business, that is who's who, what does everybody do? Like outline all your people, headshots, bios, backgrounds, contact information. But then most importantly, it's their role, their position in the company. It's their responsibilities, what they do in the company. And then it's the teams or departments that they're in and how they're arranged in like an org chart. Right? So every business has this like people layer, and every new employee that starts in a business has to learn their way around. Who do I go to for what? Who is this person? How long have they been here? So that's the people side. Next P is your policies. And so this is where it's like your handbook. These are your benefits. They're the rules of the business. They're things that you're mandated by the government, you know, like harassment and privacy and whatever. But then it's like all the policies that you've decided, you know, like can people date each other is an example I give, you know, like what are our working hours? What's the dress code around here? Like, do we text each other? Is that allowed? Or no, we don't talk after hours. Like, how casual are we at work? What language do we use? Like these are the things that I see a lot of employee issues are like scolding people for rules you never told them.
Interesting.
You know, and it's like, oh, why didn't you know this? Well, you never told me. You never wrote it down. And so the policies in a business are really about writing down the rules. And then finally, it's the process. And the reason I believe process is last is that if you do those other three things, then you're building a strong foundation that will make directionally correct decisions. Like if everybody understands and trusts each other, if everybody is aligned on like the vision and the values and knows who the right customer is, then in the absence of process, you'll still probably make good decisions. Process is about best practices. It's about leveling up. It's about saying, hey, with no instruction, you could probably figure this out. If I give you the cheat codes, you're going to be the best performer.
Exactly.
You know, if you've got 3 salespeople, why are they not all closing at the same rate? You want to level everybody else up. And so I think the profile, the people, the policies, those are about like the foundation of the business, and process is about driving up performance.
That is so powerful. The thing that dawned on me is like the typical restoration startup, right? Or let's just say sub 2 million or 3 million of revenue, right? A handful of employees. They probably don't even know their process yet. So it's like, how can you, like, what are you going to do? You're going to go copy paste somebody else's process. Well, that might work. That might not work for you. But what if you didn't focus so much on process? You just said, hey, we're a group of people. There's 5 guys, right? Here's our company profile. And here's just our non-negotiables, right? Be really good people, follow these values. We show up on time. We button up, and we're always going to problem solve. You'll eventually stumble into your process. You don't need it to start, but you do need the 3 other things.
Yeah, and sometimes process is like, it can be the missing piece of the equation that you're like, look, we've got this many people and we need to produce this result and we need to charge this amount of money and make this sort of profit. Process can be like the variable that you don't even know. It's like, how are we going to get this done? And then once you figure it out and you do it over and over, you start to get efficient and you're like, well, I guess this is how we do it. And this produces the best outcome. Now you have a process. Now you write that down, because process is about scaling. It's not, you don't start with process. You eventually refine your process, because that's how you scale.
Wow. Yeah, this was a big unlock, especially for the Georges in the room, right? We talk about the Jacks and the George in my book, and the Georges are those that are super analytical. And there's so many people that come, especially like in our coaching program, they'll ask our coaches like, hey, give me this SOP. And it's just like, it's process galore. And it's like, you're kind of missing the point, right? At the very beginning, if you don't know what you're building and how you're going to build it, and you don't have the policies in place, the process is not going to help save you.
Yeah, so. And imagine being like somebody that worked in a company. If you're just handed a big 3-ring binder and like, here's all our processes. You're like, oh gosh, wow, I have to follow all these rules. And like it feels like you're being suppressed. Like your creativity suppressed, your innovation suppressed. If instead they're like, hey, I want you to be a empowered part of my team. I want to make sure you understand where we're going. Let me chart the future for you. Let me explain. Let me make sure you know all your coworkers. Let me make sure you know your responsibilities. Here's the areas I want you to own in the business. Now they can be like, okay, cool. Like I love this business. And process again, it becomes just like, how do we get better? Be like, oh, how do I borrow this process? Like you do it great. I want to do it. I want to know how you do it. And you're like giving me the recipe.
So how can we co-create the ultimate restoration playbook? And let's actually call it that, right? Like I've got SOPs that, we give everybody all the time. And obviously at our restoration companies, we have quite a few documented processes and such. But like if we wanted to create an ultimate restoration playbook to give to all of our listeners right now, how do we do that?
So I think we would start with everything I mentioned, like the profile elements. We give them examples. Like a lot of people can create their own if they're given a really good example.
Got it.
And so I would start with examples of like a great orientation, examples of a great handbook. We could, for restoration companies, say, here are all the common roles and responsibilities and job descriptions. Here's what an org chart usually looks like. It's a really fun exercise too to create the future org chart for your business, to say like, hey, someday this is what I want the business to look like. This is what I'm building into, even though today I only have 5 people. And so we could do that. And then we could take all your SOP templates and stick them in like a library and say, pick and choose what's relevant for you. But we're not going to jam these in your account and make you use them. Like you pick and you adapt and you customize them. And so I think, it's really about giving people, like showing people what good looks like. And if people have a template for a great restoration playbook, then they can adapt it to their own business.
Awesome. Well, let's do it. So I don't know if you know, but I have a mini restoration roll-up called Longview. And then obviously I still own our family restoration business. So let's take those two and let's take the best practices of both of those and pack them into the and that's what we'll call, because it came to me intuitively, the ultimate restoration playbook. Let's do it.
The ultimate restoration playbook. I like it. ERP.
Oh.
Usurp your competition.
Wow.
I don't know.
There we go. Get two entrepreneurs in the room. I was like, where's the E?
So we already have slogans.
You are. So do you think we can get Montel to do a song on it?
Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah. Tell that story real quick. I can't kind of hear landing the plane. Like you're so process driven to where you were able to get a custom Trainual song done. How did that happen?
So Montel Jordan, who was like, this is how we do it, that song. That was like our anthem. We played it at all our employee meetings and our customer events, and that's what my software company does. Is this is how we do it. And so we linked up with Montel through a site. It's like a fan site that we were able to get a Zoom call with him. And you're not supposed to pitch or solicit or anything like that. They're moderating the call. So we just got on there. We told him like, hey, big fans, and like, here's what our company does, and your song has been so special. And then I start pitching him like, hey, why don't we co-produce a song together, and we'll pay you, we'll do all this. And the screen goes black. The moderator shut down the call. But like 10 minutes later, Montel reaches out on Twitter and he's like, hey, I love the idea. Like, let's work together.
That's awesome.
And so we scheduled a second call. We outlined it. We ended up co-producing a remix to This Is How We Do It called This Is How You Do It.
Wow.
And it's the other way around. This Is How We Do It is our song. And my brother is a musician as well, so my brother co-wrote it with him.
Wow.
And then he performed it in studio, and then we shot a music video in Brooklyn, and it's pretty cool. So you can, if you look for Montel Jordan on Spotify and look for Trainual, and you'll see our version.
That's awesome. Yeah, we'll throw it up down in the links below for everybody to watch. Well, I guess kind of wrapping everything up, any last words of advice to our fellow restorers here?
Yeah, I would say don't be afraid of process and playbooks. And I love how you talk about Jack and George and, those different personas in a business. And having read that and seen that example, I think it's impossible to grow a business without those two personas, you know, and like you have to dedicate the time to organizing your business if you ever want to scale.
Exactly.
Some people don't want to scale, and some people just are very content to do the work and live out the rest of their days. But if you really want to build a scalable empire, a business, you need systems.
100%.
You need to be aligned. Your people need to be empowered. And that's really what it's about. It's like, let's capture all that knowledge. Let's get your business out of your brain and put it onto a place where you can show it to other people, because those are the bricks. That's the concrete. Like, that's what makes a business worthwhile. No one's going to buy your business based on what's stuck in your head.
Yeah, 100%. Awesome, man. Well, thanks so much for joining us on the Albi After Hours podcast, and thank you for everyone listening. Feel free to comment below your top takeaways, as that will mean a lot to us.